Once upon a time, there was a concept, and that concept was known as autonomy.
I govern myself.
While autonomy was a pretty popular concept for a while, it was invited to all the best parties, and is still celebrated in some circles. It has also been attacked, or at least critiqued. Feminists have leveled several criticisms.
Emphasizing autonomy obscures the social context that constrains women's choices.
Autonomy has historically been bound up with masculinity.
Autonomy presumes an atomistic and independent self and ignores our social embeddedness.
And post-structuralists have leveled others.
The individual is an effect of power, and at the same time, it is the element of its articulation.
The subject is constituted through an exclusion and differentiation that is subsequently concealed by the effects of autonomy. The autonomous subject can maintain the illusion of its autonomy insofar as it covers over the break out of which it is constituted.
That is, autonomy is a myth of mastery and self-production, when really we are all produced by and through social forces. But do these critiques mean we should throw out autonomy?
I don't think so.
This is my friend Jenny. She's really smart. This is my adaptation of her graphic dissertation.
What if we re-signify or reproduce autonomy? Although autonomy may presuppose the existence of selves, those selves need not be self-constituting or masculine or atomistic. Autonomy, even if flawed historically, captures something important. For example, reproduction is a realm that could benefit from a critical rethinking of autonomy.
Procreate!
Don't procreate!
Because women's bodies have historically been controlled and regulated for the sake of social welfare. Reproductive autonomy, then, brings needed focus to the self, to the individual woman and her desires. Although on the new reproduced account of autonomy, the individual and those desires are themselves produced, and it is crucial to think about how they were or are produced. Since individuals are constituted in part through law, it is worth thinking about how law and legal discourse understand women and motherhood. For example, the Supreme Court recently portrayed women as naturally maternal and most likely grief-stricken after aborting.
Gonzalez versus Carr, 550, U.S. 124, 2007.
But certain arguments in favor of the right to abortion also rely on problematic ideas about women. These arguments say that access to abortion is necessary because motherhood is so overwhelmingly oppressive. But both of these ideas, of women as naturally maternal and severely subordinated, are in tension with the view of women as autonomous. And they are especially troubling to the extent they are taken up in law. Law can play an important role in the production of women as maternal and subordinated. And if we are given a right only because we are subordinated, don't we perversely want to stay subordinated? Otherwise, what happens to our right and to our legal recognition? What if we instead base the right to abortion on the new autonomy? Then we would need the right because it gives us an option and allows us a way to resist the prevailing construction of woman-mother. Let's now look at autonomy in a different context.
Sterilization.
Now, sterilization has a very troubling past. From the early 20th century until the 1980s, countless women were forcibly sterilized if they were deemed unfit reproducers by experts like social workers and doctors.
Categories of social inadequacy. Feeble-minded, criminalistic, dependent. Let's go with feeble-minded.
And sterilization abuses continue today. But the proliferation of voluntary sterilization, especially of women without children, could disrupt the identification of women in reproductive capacity.
Voluntary sterilization? I think I always figured I'd get pregnant by accident. I was an accident. My mom always says she wasn't even sure she wanted to have kids until she got pregnant. What would it mean to see staying fertile as an active choice?
However, it is not so easy for child-free young women to get their tubes ligated. Doctors control access to surgery. And this happens because law continues to privilege doctors' interests over patients, with regard to both sterilization abuse and access.
Please, I'll adopt if I change my mind.
Come back when you're married with children.
Instead, women's autonomy should be foregrounded.
Explain yourself.
Doctors should have to justify their actions. Both sterilization abuse and denial of sterilization hinder autonomy. And access to sterilization is especially important because sterilized women are cyborgs.
Really?
They are potent fusions of technology and organism. And
Sterilized cyborgs
are awesome. They disrupt binary ideas of machine-organism, nature-culture, and man-woman because they destabilize the identification of women with reproductive function and desire.
So if I'm to be truly autonomous, I don't have to accept fertility or sterility as a default.
Thinking of ways to destabilize deeply entrenched understandings of reproduction can lead to a more open field of possibility, to more autonomy for everyone.